Hello everyone. Today I'm going to make this video especially for one of you. You've left a comment here, which is very relevant, I think, for this day and age, and is concerns female health, female evolution, female development. So I will try to give as complete answer as I could within this short video. And I hope that it will cover all the topics because there are lots of areas here which are mentioned. So I would read the question. Could you please share your wisdom in a separate video regarding women's health, touching aspects like womb healing, overall healing of body and mind, the right way to connect with other female species like humans, animals, plants, and so on, and male species as well, how to restore connection with the body and mind, meaning the disconnection is such a painful state. How can one connect to the absolute without restoring that organic connection with own body and mind? How to preserve health above the age of 35? What love, earthly and spiritual aligned, is from the feminine perspective? What is true motherhood, preparation for big changes in body during later decades, nutrition, sleep, authenticity, or authentic being in the body and mind of a woman, truest and highest expression of feminine creativity, suitable path for transformation to high awareness for females, and so on. So thank you for having inspired me to continue writing on this topic. I have written a lot on this topic and also shared, and a lot of this information is still unpublished. But I will try to fit as many answers as I can because these topics are pretty vast. To be honest, it's quite difficult to even start and with what to start. So let's speak about females in this day and age to begin with, and compare this cycle with other evolutionary cycles. So originally we're the original soul, which exists in a balanced state, feminine, masculine. And perhaps the understanding of feminine and masculine in that sense is very different from the human man-made understanding of masculine and feminine. And certainly it's quite irrelevant to go into the times and points of the cycle which are not here, which are irrelevant to this point of cycle, where we are at the moment. So but it's good to have a perspective because we always have to remember the context we are born into. We're born into a system which binds our consciousness, whether it's a feminine or masculine, male or female consciousness, to the collective karmic residue. The fact that we are born into this system is because we ourselves carry this seed of karmic residue, and our incarnation is here as a result of it. We are feeding the matrix, this system, with our conscious energy, and this is so to speak our binding, or our, you may say, spiritual imprisonment. So every one of us born into this system in this day and age for the past 4,000 or 5,000 years, or even more, whatever the cycle is here on earth, which touches upon the beginning and the end of Dwapara Yuga and the Kali Yuga. This particular dimension touches these cycles, because when you are in the upper cycle, it's a different dimension. It's a subtler dimension, which resembles this dimension, but it's not the same dimension. This is, however, not the topic of this video, but it's important to keep it in perspective. So our creative potential is bound to this matrix, to this system we're born into. And we feed it. We have accepted certain aspects of reality as constant generation of thoughts and emotions, for normality. We accepted the fact that we live a certain number of years for normality. We accepted that unnatural death, which is the death of losing our vital energy, decaying and rotting alive, is normality. So again, when we speak about feminine and masculine principles, we have to understand which conscious level standpoint we are speaking from. And in terms of, if we compare ourselves to animals and we just consider gender roles according to the reproductive system and according to the procreation, then we are very limited in that sense. Feminine representatives of our collective consciousness supposed to carry wisdom, patience, supposed to carry knowledge, and yet we found ourselves in a very degraded way, and the degraded way is lack of intelligence. Our feminine mind is fed with limited ideas about femininity, beauty, motherhood, family, that we live through and through which we just lose our vitality. In terms of spiritual evolution for a human being, for whether female or male, starts with puberty, but we are not taught that. Feminine evolution starts with the puberty, with the arrival of her first period. That's when she's supposed to be, or by that time, she's supposed to be prepared by her mother and grandmother to step onto the path of spiritual evolution. That's supposed to be the moment of awakening. And yet we see that by that time, most of the females find themselves hormonally imbalanced already because of the foods we eat, because of the system we're living in, because we are not taught the path. The external path is only preparational. It prepares you to step on the internal path, because the internal path has to be invoked from within. You're supposed to be reconnected with that higher consciousness, awareness, intelligence, whatever you call it, within yourself during the time of puberty. And you are supposed to learn the ways to balance your femininity, or in general, to balance your space of consciousness, to master your space of consciousness throughout the puberty, then throughout your stage of motherhood, and then prepare yourself towards the transcendence, towards your stage of menopause. And the menopause was not supposed to be some sort of a imbalanced moment, the moment when your hormones jump up and down, when you're experiencing certain unwanted and unfortunate changes within the body. That's abnormal, but we have accepted it for normality. Our doctors tend to say that it's all just but a normal way to decay and age, because they don't know anything else, because there is no reference point how it could be otherwise. But in terms of spiritual evolution, in terms of ancient knowledge that is still preserved in very few examples on this earth at this point in this day and age, says otherwise. You have to prepare yourself from the puberty. You have to understand the meaning of turning your focus within, the meaning of self-cultivation, the meaning of self-refinement. But how can you refine yourselves when the only example of feminine energy you've got is your imbalanced mother, grandmother? Their constant dramas, their gossips, their quarrels. So there is no reference point. Everything has to be refined, changed for the sake of starting a new cycle, because a new cycle has a different reference point. But as long as traumatized parents bring children, the children will definitely become traumatized, because that's what we bring into the system, into the collective. We bring our own trauma. The trauma itself is the karma. We don't know otherwise. And so our children are punished by our traumas. We are punished by our parents' traumas, and so on and so forth. And it has been going on for generations. How to prepare to be a female means to learn to connect with a higher intelligence, creative being. But it's the same for the male. It's just the path of the male is a little bit different. And it's very, a female, a developed, evolved female plays a great role in the evolution of male. If we have a degraded version of a female in the collective, we will be producing a degraded, sick, imbalanced, mentally, emotionally, physically, males. And so the crisis of the males are the result of the crisis of the females, because we don't have balanced mothers. We have abused, raped, distorted type of mothers, which cannot give anything else or pass on anything else but distortion to their children. Behind every king, every ruler, every nation, stand great women, wise, intelligent, yet very humble, because they stay in the shadow. They rule the world behind the scenes. It is the male role to be seen, to be outwardly seen, presented, to be managing the society. It is the feminine role, to guide, navigate, bring knowledge. Unfortunately, it's not the reality. So, because the state of affairs is very unfortunate, the level of intelligence of the majority of the females is below acceptable. They are deluded into, or fixated rather, on their beauty. They try to develop themselves in all the unfortunate ways, trying to learn ways to manipulate men, because men control the resources. So in order to be fortunate, they believe that they have to develop manipulative, cunning ways to get under the skin of those men. But the men in reality are nothing without strong mothers, without strong feminine leaders. And the history proved it. Unfortunately, we're not taught that. We're living in a society which is imbalanced because of this very fact, that we lack intelligent, balanced, healthy women who know the path, the path of evolution because they walk that path. We have occulted women, miserable women, abused women, fixated on their beauty, mentally, emotionally imbalanced, addicted women, manipulative women, narcissistic women, psychopathic women. We have women which try to tie up men against their will and procreate. That's a curse. That's a curse in disguise. What kind of souls can come in through such channels? In terms of a female womb, a womb is a channel. I actually have recorded another video about it. A mother supposed to be an example to her child. A mother and father supposed to procreate for one single purpose. And this purpose is to pass on the knowledge, to preserve the purity of genes. The purity of genes come from the purity of consciousness. This is not the case in this day and age, not in this era, not in this dimension. We are mixed. The conquest in this day and age is not the conquest by sword, by weapons, but by, how would I call it? Forced procreation, rape. Most of the nations invaded other nations and forced their seeds onto their women. That is the conquest. From the ancient time, that has been always conquest. To plant a seed into the womb. Through this unfair conquest, the curses took place. Sacrifices have been made, and we are the result of that. Enslavement is the result of that. When the intelligence and conscious energy is enslaved, meaning the creative being is enslaved, such society has no future. The female representatives in the society hold the key to the future. And the males guard the past. There's supposed to be an alignment within oneself. This alignment is within the creative, with the created being, with the higher intelligence, so that you can understand and perceive nature. You can merge with nature, you can cultivate nature and build a proper society. A misaligned being, whether male or female, cannot build a society because the foundation is within. If that foundation isn't there, the actual foundation will be chaos, war, famine, imbalance, improper distribution of resources, etc., etc. So that's what we're living in. We accept it for normality, when the reality is we are living the curse, the chaos of this internal imbalance that we've created through the down cycle. And until we really understand it, there is no salvation. All our female species are imprisoned, enslaved by the system. The reproductive system is in captivity. We are forced to take certain pills to alter our state of being, our bodies, through unnatural foods, through unnatural modalities of existence. And then we wonder why in the Middle Ages we suffer certain imbalances and issues of mental, emotional nature, physical nature. Is because we haven't been prepared for the path, we haven't stepped on the path, and the result of it is that disturbed, imbalanced menopause. Hormonal imbalance means one is not in alignment with a higher being. One does not live in a balanced state. One is not healthy. The majority of female representatives are already unhealthy by the age of whatever age of puberty. Males are also unstable by the age of 20, about, in the system. When people suffer reproductive issues, it means our genome, our genetics has been corrupt to the point of unprecedented. So we reach the rock bottom and there is no way out. In Ayurveda, Siddha medicine, there is an understanding of 7 sheaths, 7 bodies, and also 7 dhatus, which are related to the way our body functions. The last level is the level of procreative seed. When the intelligence is corrupt to the T, the seed gets corrupt. That's why we suffer infertility, inability to have proper reproductive system, functioning of our reproductive organs. We are not able to enjoy balanced sexuality within ourselves and with the other. Everything is imbalanced here. So this is the state of affairs. Now, how to bring us back to alignment is going to take time, thousands of years perhaps, and there will be a total reset because we're at the end of the cycle, whatever that means. Because in order to heal one body, we need to awaken and align ourselves to the higher being, higher consciousness. This is impossible as long as we project ourselves or exist in the projected mode. It's important to go back into oneself, to learn to remain in the body, to learn to observe one's being, the reality, one's bodily existence and beyond the bodily existence through that higher awareness. Without that, there is no refinement. Yes, it is possible to use certain exercises or herbs or be more disciplined in life to bring yourself into alignment, but it's a superficial level. The actual alignment comes from the internal refinement, but the internal refinement is impossible without the awakening to the higher being. When we awaken to the higher being, our consciousness passes on the information that affects our upper glands. This upper gland starts secreting different type of information. This information is translated into hormones, hormonal liquids, which communicate this information further to our organs and make sure that our organs function well or don't function well. And so when we have issues with the reproductive system, it is a conscious problem. Because the mother of all organs is the pituitary gland. The father is the pineal gland. And when we don't know that, we exist but in delusion, because spirituality is pure anatomy. It's a spiritual anatomy. It's the way we understand how the language of consciousness is translated and transferred into the language of the body. And the language of the body is hormones, is secretion. When we represent pure femininity, and actually no one represents pure femininity or masculinity because it's all in alignment. But when we awaken to our creative being, our pituitary gland starts vibrating and emitting or secreting different type of liquid than before. That's where everything changes. It's not always about what you eat or what you do physically, because that's the reflection of your consciousness. When you speak in terms of spiritual evolution, it is always about the refinement of the subtle shadows, aspects within the consciousness. So when we speak in terms of spiritual refinement, it is not about what you do physically, what your body does, how many times you perform these rituals or those rituals, what you intake, what you don't intake. It's more about your ability to perceive the subtle corruption, those waves, those currents that move you into these physical actions, because the physical actions are just the reflections. The physical actions are just the reflections of the consciousness, of the waves within consciousness. So our consciousness has to be refined, and the only way to refine consciousness is through the state of yoga, samadhi, equanimity. Because when you're absorbed, you perceive the higher being, high frequency. That frequency does not have words, thoughts, or emotions. That frequency is beyond. It's actually a thoughtless and emotionless state. So the female or male refinement starts with this awakening, acknowledgement, and realization that I am as a being, am thoughtless and emotionless. I'm the vibration. But then I do also have the connection to the collective space of consciousness, which has the residue. This karmic residue is in the form of thoughts, emotions. These are clusters of energy, which at this point are almost autonomous. They feed our conscious being. Now the process starts, the process of self-observation and refinement, when you dissolve these residue, these thoughts and emotions. And then, because your conscious level expands, you naturally choose different modalities of existence. You start seeing things for what they are. You start seeing the system for what it is. And you start realizing what the truth is. And the truth is not something that you can put into words. It's just, you perceive it from within, and you clearly see the limitations of the existing system or relationships, or even within your own environment or your own being. So your choices change. You refine yourself. It means you dissolve the patterns, and the behavior changes naturally. The choice of things changes. Before, your choices are dictated by the choices of your parents or the system or the environment you were grown in. Now, once you're refined, you're totally a brand new being. And that also refines you on the physical level. It refines you on the biospiritual level, because it is called the spiritual refinement, which touches upon the very deep level of your genes. your creative essence. The creative essence is, in Sanskrit, is called rasa. The word raja and rasa are the same. It's the Raj Yoga, means the transformation of the creative fluid, the transformation of the creative essence. Your shukra, your seed, starts emanating differently. It carries refined information. It means when you procreate this way, it passes on a different knowledge. But it's not enough to be refined and then to procreate with someone who's unrefined. Both people, male and female, have to be refined on some level. But it is the role of a male to follow a female. And a female guides through natural respect and submission to the male. She guides the male with her wisdom to rule and arrange and manage the world. That's the natural way of interaction between male and female. Guiding doesn't mean dominating. Guiding doesn't mean controlling and manipulating. A lot of people see these things in a very perverse way. Those who truly lead and guide are very humble beings, or they're supposed to be such, because they are not supposed to dominate and control. Domination and control arises from the limitation, from the refined egotistical selves. True leaders are very humble, emanate intelligence, health, and lead by example. That's the role of a female, of a true female that wants to build a beautiful society which is based on spiritual knowledge, alignment with the creative power, and natural organic living. That type of female is supposed to guide males towards their spiritual evolution. Such females are not the representatives of aggression, manipulation, and cunning nature, because that's the shadow. A refined female is very straightforward, honest, full of dignity, kindness, compassion, and understanding. That's the motherly quality. That's what to be a mother means. A mother to humanity, a mother to your own children, a mother and a partner to your chosen partner. The role is to guide and navigate through humility, because only humility is the sign of intelligence, an ability to build the society on proper values, on proper, foundation. Male qualities are very different. A male, refined male, is very patient, is grounded, is the emanation of peace. So is the refined female. But the way they interact is different, because the male creates. The male is the creator of the tangible, the creator of the limited. The man is given guidance. That guidance is the spiritual transmission. That the man will manifest into the tangible form. If we understand this, we will understand the proper, balanced way to be with a man if you're a female, or if you're a man to be with a woman. Unfortunately, we neither have refined females nor we have refined males. Both are full of ego, limitations, unrefined emotions. So the spiritual path starts from the acknowledgement of the higher existence and reality through which one refines oneself on the levels of thoughts and emotions and transforms the behavioral patterns when those patterns are transformed, it refines the seed, and the seed of procreation becomes more potent and opens a channel to welcome higher type of consciousness and rebuild the society. That would mean the initiation of the higher cycle, the beginning of the higher cycle. I'm just reading some of these questions here to come back to the point. All of these questions are kind of relevant and kind of irrelevant. It's a bit too late for many people, because at the end of cycle, all we have is the residue. And it takes a long time to dissolve this residue, because it has taken a long time to have accumulated this residue. And I know that most of you will be discouraged and disagree, but it's okay, because it doesn't really matter. The truth always prevails, and sooner or later it is visible. All we can do is try and focus within, restore the connection with a higher being, and start the stage of preparation. From whichever point in your current life, whether you're 13, 14, 18, 20, 30, 40, 50, refinement is always possible. It's just that the physical transformation might be impeded by the, biological changes which have crystallized, because sometimes consciousness crystallizes and the body, the age, shown, and it's crystallized, but it is still possible to reverse the process if the consciousness, is capable of such profound refinement. It's very rare, but it's still possible. In that case, the body can be restored to its youthful stage, so that one has not only reconnected with the creative being consciously, but that reconnection and refinement and cultivation has also resulted in the restoration of the seed, which is Shukra, or the essence. Sometimes the form deludes, and most of the time the form deludes, because the form, if we speak in terms of spiritual evolution and transcendence, the form matters to a point. At first, it's a reflection. When the consciousness becomes unbound, the form can be anything. But again, it's not the topic for this video. If we want to restore our female health or even male health, we need to come into the alignment. And this alignment has to be balance of feminine and female or male energy within the consciousness. It means there has to be the balance between the projected mode and the internal mode. For a female, evolution means she becomes more of a embodiment of the creative power. For a male, it means something else. It means the embodiment of intelligence, patience, peace. But all of us have different evolutionary purpose, and it all depends where we consciously direct it. When there is balance between our female and male aspects of consciousness, it will definitely result on our body, in our body, the secretion will change and the body will manifest a more refined version of itself, a refined and more balanced form. When you're a young female at this point, how can you create a refined offspring? Only by refinement of the self. The earlier you start, the more possible or probable it is. But on the other hand, at this point, all the channels of incoming or incarnating into this world are polluted. And so we can't expect highly evolved beings to incarnate in this point. Only exceptionally possible. And it's very painful because, again, during the time of incarnation, we borrow the genetic material of our unrefined parents, and we need to spend a great deal of time to refine our genetic material. So we need to spend decades, maybe even a lifetime sometimes, but mostly decades, for this refinement in order to come to the point of balance and foundation in which we can start our spiritual evolution, so-called spiritual realization, ascension, whatever you call it. Well, there are lots of herbs and diets that may be helpful for females to stay balanced and healthy on the physical level. But unfortunately, all our imbalance, most of our imbalance comes from our energetic side, spiritual side, conscious side. Our emotions are imbalanced. We are drained by our emotions, our thoughts. We entertain certain paradigms we shouldn't entertain. Through this, we drain ourselves, and it secretes through our upper glands into the lower glands and causes hormonal imbalance. So even if you take herbs and all, the body might fail. The body will still age, the body will still decay and lose its vitality. So those herbs, alchemical preparations, are only valid then when you have done your conscious refinement, or you are at least supplementing your conscious refinement with those herbs, or you're doing it at the same time, in other words. Then it might have an effect. It doesn't matter what you apply on your face or body. Everything is revealed through your face, through your bodily stature or posture, depending on your conscious state. The face is like a reversed expression of your being. So whatever you do or don't do, it's dictated from the inside. It's a reflection of your inner being. So the face is a reflection of your inner being. Stop beautifying yourself externally, because the true beauty is the refinement of consciousness that will definitely reflect on your face and on the condition of your body, which will be health and longevity. Without this understanding, both females and males are doomed, but mostly females, because they're deluded to believe that whatever they apply on their face, whatever they do externally, makes them more beautiful. The beauty is the fountain of youth, and the fountain of youth is consciousness. And the awakening to that higher frequency of consciousness that will manifest on the activation of the upper glands, the balance of that thalamus, hypothalamus, pineal and pituitary all together, and the secretion of proper information in the form of hormones that will manifest as longevity, beauty, energy, youth. Thank you very much. I hope it brought some food for thought. If you like, please subscribe, share. You can offer super thanks, some donation if you like the content to support the channel. Everything is appreciated. Be blessed, be beautiful, be youthful, live long.